Long before Bravo, or Joan Rivers, the queen of the red carpet is socialite, inventor, talk show host, philanthropist, one of my heroes. Today's guest on Mr. Nashville Talks, the unsinkable Nikki Haskell. Well, I'm very excited to be talking today with Nikki Haskell, who I've loved since gosh for since I was a little kid in Kentucky, and my friend would make me videos from New York and send down um, of all the things happening in nightlife. And Nikki Haskell was Miss Nightlife, Miss Entertainment in New York City.
That was, yes, it was a lot of fun. That always fun there.
Yeah, how did you get started in entertainment?
You know, I guess and everybody has two businesses, theirs and show business. I was a stockbroker. I worked for Drexel Burnham for 10 years. I was among the first 5 female stockbrokers in the world.
Oh, wow.
I was born in Chicago and brought up in Beverly Hills. And, you know, when I was a little girl, my parents used to take me to nightclubs all the time. So I was going to nightclubs from when I was like 6 years old. I used to go. We lived in Chicago. They had a lot of nightclubs. There was a very famous club called the Chez Paris. And my parents used to take me there all the time. I saw Jimmy Durante and Carmen Miranda and Mae West and Milton Berle, who became a good friend of mine. So I mean, I started early. I started going to nightclubs when I was a kid. So I knew all these, you know, these legendary people from when I was like 6. I moved to Beverly Hills when I was a little girl. And then I got married and I moved to New York and became a stockbroker. And then I started my television show, the Nikki Haskell Show, started in 1979. In fact, we used to broadcast in Nashville too. The show was on the air in Nashville for a long time.
Really?
6 years, yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I can imagine because
there wasn't anything like it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you were a real forefront because a lot of what they do now, before they were talking about, you know, before Joan Rivers was on the red carpet, I mean, you were already asking people about fashion and all of those
without
things.
question. But Joan was a good friend of mine. And
Yes.
she used to have a show too called the Joan Rivers Show. In fact, I used to go on her show all the time. I went on it once because I was friendly with Heidi Fleiss. Do you remember who Heidi Fleiss was?
Yes.
I had seen Heidi Fleiss the night before. I think she was like on her way to jail. I saw her at this charity event. And she was with a cop and she said, the cops arrested me and they put the handcuffs on. I said, that'll be 1,500 more. So man, I love Joan. Joan was really an amazing woman.
She actually is the one that gave the name Mr. Nashville to me. Yeah, that's funny. I didn't know her real well or anything, but when the few times that I saw her, she always heard my accent. She said, it's Mr. Nashville. And so I thought, well, I'll keep that because somebody else did the same thing. And so, yeah, so I love her. I think she's amazing. And so you get to New York, you're meeting all these incredible people. I mean, you were at Studio 54, all of these. I mean, what was that like in that time period for you? I mean, because you were young and partying and.
You know, everything in life is timing.
Yes.
And I just happened to be born at a great time when rock and roll came in, you know, and mini skirts. And so I was there on the cutting edge of all the different, you know, fads throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And by the time the 80s rolled around, I mean, I had quit being a stockbroker. The television show was doing great. We were traveling all over the world. And of course, every week I would give a party at a club and I would shoot it for my television show. So it just sort of, it was what, I mean, of course, I had no idea what I was doing, but nobody else even had an idea even what it was that I was even trying to do. And we did it. And the shows are up now. They're on Amazon Prime. They licensed my footage. I mean, I must have done 25 to 30 documentaries last year where they used my footage.
Wow.
If it wasn't Studio 54 or the Alan Carr documentary. I've done so many documentaries. I did like 6 in 1 week on Donald Trump.
That you were kind of the first one that had him on television, weren't you?
Yes, I'm the first one. He was a close friend of mine. He is a close friend of mine.
Now, how was that when you first run into him that you think, I want to put him on television?
Well, it wasn't quite that way. First of all, when I met him, I was a stockbroker.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so when I met him, I was a stockbroker, and of course, the show evolved afterwards. The show was it was a kind of the show went on the air. I met Donald in like 1975. So I was friendly with him, for several years before he met Ivana. He met Ivana in 77. Studio opened in 77. Actually, I took him and Ivana opening night to Studio 54.
Well, you're kind of like the godmother to his children, I read, or
I'm probably as close to the kids as anybody. I was there when they were all born, when they were all married. I spent every summer with them, and I'm very fond of them. I love Ivanka. She's incredible.
Oh yeah, she's doing great things, and her mom. I mean, she's still.
She's my best friend.
Yeah. That's great that you were able to keep that, that close relationship after all these years, and then to the presidency and anything political anymore. Somebody doesn't like it. Did you get a lot of backlash for your friendship?
Everybody's got something to say about something.
Yes, exactly.
No, absolutely. I mean, with me, I look at it this way. We live in a free country. Anybody can vote for whoever they want to vote for. If you like Donald, fine. It's not going to change my voting for him if you don't like him. That's that we live in a country where you can vote for whoever you want.
Right.
And, if you don't like him, there'll be another one around in another 4 years. You cannot like him either.
How have you been with lockdown? Because I know like California is far worse than what we have as far as the rules of leaving your home and all of that. How are things going there?
A year ago next week.
Oh, wow.
I got a call from my dear friend Clive Davis, who said that he was going down to Palm Springs for 2 weeks, that I want to come down and quarantine with him. So I was there for 17 weeks.
Well, if you're going to quarantine, that's somebody good to do it with.
The best time ever. I had the best time. We were there for 17 weeks in Palm Springs at Leonardo DiCaprio's house. So I finished my Star Shooter. This is my new invention.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. How did you come up with this?
So this is the Star Shooter. Let me see. Can you see it?
Yes.
So I came up with it because after the 4 millionth time that my telephone had fallen into the sink, I thought, why doesn't somebody come up with like a really, great stand for your iPhone, right?
Right.
So I went through everything. I mean, I wasn't planning on inventing anything. I went through every stand available, and they all looked, so they were sort of crummy. And then, of course, I'm on Instagram, Big Nick BH, and Facebook at Nikki Haskell. And I thought, well, there's no lights. Why doesn't anybody put some lights on these things? And then I thought, well, and then of course I'm like an all-in-one kind of person. I'm not going to carry a selfie stick and a light and the thing, what I'm saying? So then I invented it so that the selfie stick comes out. So it gives you the perfect picture every time.
I love that. Yeah, I think this is the phone that when people see it, everybody's going to want this, because this is, they've got their
so
diva
cool.
light.
You got the lights, but the best thing is it stands up. So, I don't know about you. Even when you're talking on the phone, you put your phone down. If you have to put it up against the book, and you have to put it up against the box, and this way you can just put it right up. It's just right there, And with zooming, it's the greatest because you just have to pull the stick out. And it has the Bluetooth button. And so now we have this is the most popular model, the SE, but in May, we're coming out with all the sizes. So we'll have the 10, the 11 Pro, the 12, and the 12 Pro. So we'll have all of them. And so that's what happened. And so I came up with it. And then so I sort of like designed something, and I took it to someone and they sort of redesigned it and everything. And it took me almost 8 years.
Wow.
To get it, because nobody ever came up with anything like this before. So it was very complicated to make it work.
Well, and I saw you also do the sharpshooter, or is that right?
Star Cruncher.
Star Cruncher. Where did I get sharpshooter? Sorry.
Star Cruncher. I invented the Star Cruncher on the dance floor of Studio 54.
Really?
I was dancing around one night. I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could like come up with something that I could wear and you could exercise and you wouldn't have to go to the gym. Here's the Star Cruncher. They go in your hands and your feet. And
yes.
You work your upper body and your lower body. And this is also on Amazon Prime, as is the Star Shooter. I use this every day. It's great. You can travel with it. I always throw it at the bottom of my suitcase.
Well, so, I see you using it. It hits all the core points that you really need to hit to kind of.
It was actually really way ahead of its time, because when I came up with it, people were on the Bowflex and they were running and jumping. And nobody does any of that anymore. They're all just stretching. You want to stay lean and mean. You want to make sure that you can, walk and move your arms. And, as you get older, things stop working as well as they did. And the most important thing is you have to stay agile. You have to be able to be flexible. And I wrote a great diet book, The Star Diet. And so I've always been in the diet and health. I'm in different things every day. I'm sort of like a chameleon. One day I'm doing this and the next day I'm doing that. But I get them all done. It's not like I'm a kind of person that I start projects. You have to have a lot of projects going because you never know what's going to happen and what's not going to happen.
Exactly.
And I start projects, but I always follow through with them.
That's the big thing. Yeah. So many don't follow through. They just have an idea and then somebody else comes along and takes it.
They go, oh, I'm the one that came up with that. They say, yeah, I don't see your name on the patent.
That's right. Exactly.
And it's easy to drop the ball right on the finish line. Believe me. You say, oh, I give up. I'm just not going to do this anymore. That's when you got to really go in there and give it another shot.
We were talking about your days in New York and the Nikki Haskell Show. There were so many people that you've had on that show. I know I've seen like Rick James. Rick James.
Rick James,
Liza. Names. Who are some of your more memorable guests that mean the most to you?
Well, Rick James. I mean, I was very close to Rick James, so I actually was part of the Rick James family.
Really?
The footage, the show that's on. And I said, in those days, you used to have to take these big, sound things with the cameras and stuff. Like now, you could just shoot the whole thing with your iPhone.
Yeah.
And I said to my camera crew, start in the front. I said, because they're going to throw us out. I said, so start in the front. So by the time you get to the side, they'll probably throw you out. So they started in the side. So sure enough, by the time they got around to the front, they threw them out, right? Yeah. And then I gave a big party at Studio 54. But I mean, one of my favorite interviews is with Gene Kelly from Singing in the Rain.
Oh, yes.
I did that in Deauville. I did a great one with Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
And I've interviewed Arnold Schwarzenegger in Rio de Janeiro. We went to Carnival. And Madame Marcos was one of my favorite.
That I thought saw that one.
I went to the Philippines by myself to cover the film festival, and I became very friendly with her. I went back 3 times to the Philippines, and I think she gave me an interview where she didn't give anybody an interview. She came up, when I first got there, I was alone, and I went to the press office. It was a Rogers and Cowan press office, and I said, and somehow I commandeered the local film crew. So I made a deal with them that I would do the interviews and they would put them on television and give me the footage. So that night, during the day, I had interviewed Jeremy Irons. And that night, Jeremy and I had gone to the American Embassy, and Madame Marcos came in, and she was with George Hamilton and his mother, and the whole army, and they came all the way around. And she said to me, "Are you Nikki Haskell?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I just saw you on television. You come with me." And after that, I was always with her.
That's
She was
wonderful.
great. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I did a really great interview with Tony Curtis.
Yeah, he was
who was one of my absolute all-time favorite people. I did a great one with George Hamilton and I on Madame Marcos's yacht, which was an aircraft carrier.
Oh, wow.
And as we walked into the royal yacht, at the far end of the living room, there were 2 step ladders with men on the step ladders with oil drums filled with caviar, pouring them into Limoges urns, floor to ceiling Limoges urns.
Wow.
It was quite cool.
Did you meet Mr. Mark or President Marcos as well?
Oh, he loved me. In fact, the second year when I came back, President Marcos said to me, they sat me next to him at the royal dinner. They said, how come you never want to interview me? I said, "Oh, President Marcos, I would love to interview you." He said, "Okay, come Wednesday morning to Malacanang." That was the palace. He said, "Be there at 9:00. I said, "Okay." So Tuesday night, about 3 a.m, I got a knock at my door from Madame Marcos's attaché. And he said that Madame Marcos wants you to be on the royal yacht tomorrow morning at 7:30. So when I got on, I just assumed that, President Marcos would be on the yacht. So when I got on the yacht and I realized that he wasn't on the yacht, there really wasn't very much I could do. So I stood him up. The next morning, about 7:00 in the morning, I got up and I had gone down to the editing bay to take some footage from the day before when we went to Corregidor and Bataan. And there was a call. My secretary picked it up, and this man said, "Is Nikki Haskell there?" He said, "Well, who's this?" He said, "This is President Marcos. You tell her I'm sending a car for her. She better be ready in a half an hour." So when I got over to the palace, he was sitting there waiting with the camera crew and the whole thing.
And did you? I'm going by memory a little bit, but did you know General Pinochet too as well? For some reason, I was thinking you did.
I did. So I went to Chile with Prince Egon von Furstenberg. We went to Mexico, then we went to Chile, and this man that I was dating, his sister was, I don't know, somehow friendly with Pinochet. And that was the year that The Year of Living Dangerously had just come out, the movie, which was about Chile and about, all the murders and, everything that everything had gone through. And in fact, I did the premiere of the movie in Cannes. It was with, it was with Sigourney Weaver and Mel Gibson.
Oh, wow.
And wow. I have interviews with both of them from the Cannes Film Festival. So what had happened when I got to Chile, everyone, for some reason, all the dictators always loved me. They found out that I had done this interview with Madame Marcos. So they said, "Do you want to interview him?" Well, I'm not an investigative reporter. I'm like, what's your favorite color? Where do you want to go to lunch? Kind of an interviewer. So they said, "Do you have to write out 20 questions that you're going to ask him?" So I never had a question in my life that it was never scripted. So I don't know, I wrote down 20 questions, whatever. They came over, picked me up in this unmarked car. I think, "Oh, please don't tell me they're going to blindfold me." I was like really nervous. And I went over there. I guess I was at the royal residence, and it was just the two of us. I mean, there wasn't even any security guards or anything. And we became like, I hate to say it, but he was like a really friendly dictator.
Yeah.
He was like a dictator with a sense of humor.
Right.
I mean, I know that's politically incorrect. You can't say anything like that anymore. But so I left. We had lunch together and everything. And then the next morning they called and they said that the president is expecting you to come back and finish your interview. So I said, what do you mean finish the interview? He said, no, so I had to go back again and have lunch with him the next day.
That's amazing.
And then I'll never forget one time I was in Cannes. Maybe it was I think it was the second year that I was in Cannes. I remember lying in bed at the Carlton Hotel, the phone rings. They said, would you like to interview Gaddafi? Gaddafi would like for you to come to Libya. I went, yeah. I said, yeah, okay. That sounds like, I could go for that. And then the 7-day war broke out. And that was the end of that. I would love to have gone over and interviewed Gaddafi.
That would have been really interesting. You would have scooped
I was ready to.
for years.
I think she actually did interview Gaddafi.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. Did you were you friendly with like Cindy Adams and the whole?
I am friendly with Cindy. In fact, interestingly enough, I just did a documentary on Cindy Adams.
Really?
About it was interesting because they called me to do this interview, and you forget how friendships evolve and how things sort of happen. And so when I did this documentary on her, I remembered that I used to have a product called Star Caps. It was my diet product. And one day I was with Liza Minnelli and Lorna Luft, and I asked them to please go with me to this drugstore in Madison Avenue because I was having a problem getting my product into the store. So the three of us walk into the store, and I corner sort of the owner of the store, and I'm just giving him the pitch, and somebody yells out, "I've been robbed, we've been robbed," and everything. And like everybody sort of like dispersed. I went, I can't believe it, in the middle of my pitch, So I called Cindy Adams and I told Cindy the story, and she wrote about it, and StarCaps became an overnight success. When I was doing this documentary on her, they took a lot of my footage. They licensed a lot of my footage. And I found footage of Dewey Sukarno, Madame Sukarno, because Cindy was very friendly with Dewey, with Madame Sukarno, and actually President Sukarno too. So I had a lot of footage that I gave them, and Madame Marcos footage. I'm a huge fan of Cindy's. I just think she's fabulous.
Yeah, I mean,
irreverent. She's 90.
I know, I can't get over that.
I'll never forget, I gave this party one night at La Club, which was a private club. And I was having Sylvester Stallone. So Cindy called and she said, well, is this going to be place carded? Are you going to place card this dinner? I never place carded anything. I would say, you sit here, you sit there, you sit there, because, you place card a dinner and you expect Frank Sinatra to show up, and then he doesn't show up, and then there's an empty seat at the table. So I went out and I got all these place cards, and I had the calligrapher do all the names on the things. And when she came in, I gave her place card. I said, here's your place card, and put it anywhere you want.
I love that.
I always have place cards with me wherever I go.
I love that.
I wrote a book, and one of the chapters of the book was "Have Place Card, Will Travel." But I always have a place card in my purse. And I always kid my friend Clive Davis. Here, this looks like a place card. Yes, here's a place card.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Yeah,
because Clive Davis place cards everything. So I always take the place cards. So I always put them in my purse. So I always have an extra. You never know when you're going to need a place card.
Well, you mentioned Clive Davis. I'm sure you've been to his amazing Grammy parties that he has every year. Were you there the big year with Whitney Houston when all of that happened?
When she died?
Yes,
I was.
Oh, wow.
But more important than that, I was there the years that she was alive.
Yeah.
And there were so many, because originally when Clive started doing them in LA, he did them in the Beverly Hills Hotel. He put like Aretha with Whitney and Dion, and he would put all these different people together. And one time, I'll never forget, Whitney was performing, and Bobby Brown walked in, and he had this white tuxedo. I never remember, it was like a white suit. It really sort of looked like John Travolta's old suit from Saturday Night. He was a white suit with a white vest and a red shirt. And he got up on top of this chair, sort of right in front of Whitney. He was going like this and going like this. Clive went, 2 security guards came and took his ass right out of there. That was the end of him. Bye-bye, Bobby Brown.
That's great.
I was there, unfortunately, that amazing, horrible night that I will never forget. It was quite devastating. But the reality, the truth of it is, every time you would see Whitney, okay, which I saw her often, but not, every day or whatever, you would go, she made it. It was always touch and go, with her. So you never really knew. So you're always so thrilled when she was there. But Clive's they're doing a movie about Whitney.
Oh, great.
And so during when I was in COVID, he was doing the movie on Whitney with Anthony McCardle, who did Bohemian Rhapsody and the Two Popes.
Oh, that'd be great.
And he did a 8 or 9 part series called the Genius series, where they did one on Einstein and one on Picasso and one on Aretha.
Oh, wow.
So Clive worked on that too during that time. So when I was in quarantine, not only did I do the Star Shooter, we did all the packaging and everything. It looks so pretty. I'm so proud of it. And it's selling at the Beverly Hills Hotel like crazy. Everybody loves it. But I would say it was so fortuitous for me, because I really have to work on the buddy system. I'm not good alone.
Yeah.
If I have somebody with me, I can get anything done. If I have to do it alone, I start this, then I go there, and I do this. I'm a little fragmented,
Yeah.
But somehow I get it all done.
Well, that's the creative genius in you.
Probably.
Yeah.
In lack of a better description of what it is. We'll call it true genius.
Well, what's next for Nikki Haskell?
Well, this magazine just came out where they put me on the cover.
I love that. That's gorgeous.
Great? Yeah, and there's like 12 pages inside. So they just did this, and there's an LA magazine coming out on me in April. And of course, right now I am building the brand and working with this product, because this is a worldwide. They're going to do 33 billion selfies this year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And they're doing, I don't know exactly how to explain this. I wrote a screenplay, autobiographical, called Overdressed When Naked.
I love that.
And this very prominent writer is now, I guess now the way they present series is he's doing the first episode.
Yes. That'll be amazing.
It'll start in like 1977. It'll be filled with dance music, filled with disco music, filled with, you really feel the essence of that time. Because I was still a stockbroker. At 77, I was still a stockbroker. Donald and Ivana had just gotten married. Studio had just opened. And then I quit being a stockbroker. So it sort of all sort of melted together during that time. And of course, New York was so much fun. I mean, there wasn't anything in the world like Studio, but there were lots of really great clubs. There was Le Club, which was a private club. Actually, that's where I met Donald originally, which is a private club in the Upper East Side that was sort of like an English townhouse, very elegant. So, I mean, it was an amazing time. Right now I'm sort of betwixt and between, because I still have my apartment in New York, and I think I'm going to give it up. I don't think New York's going to come back that fast.
Yeah.
And there's no. When I had the Star Caps, I ran my business out of New York.
Right.
But now we run my business out of LA. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think a lot. I'm working on a couple of really, really monumental projects. And being a woman alone is a real pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Because they always you're either too confident or not confident enough. You're either too pushy or not pushy enough. You get labeled lots of different things, but you have to get the job done. They can say what they want to say as long as they say yes.
Well, that's what
it was a soft yes.
Well, that's what I was going to say about you, because you started, you did this television show. You were a stockbroker. You became this television show. You just paved all your own roads, and so many people.
Not knowing it not knowing it as it was happening.
Right.
As you're doing something, you're so caught up in the moment, you don't actually get the fact that you're the first person that's doing this.
Right.
You know, I mean, I had billboards on Sunset Boulevard. I mean, I've done things, I've always thought outside of the box. And since nobody ever wanted to be my partner, I've always done everything on my own. And you know what? It makes it much easier because you can do whatever you want to do. I don't overthink things. I overdo things. You
Well,
know,
and I applaud you for that. I applaud you. Thank you so much for being on our show today. And I can't believe that. I wish I could talk to you forever, but there's so much
we
wisdom.
can arrange that.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I do want to read your autobiography. I hope you do. Did you say
No,
you?
it's not going to be an autobiography. It's going to be a television series, like
Yes,
a cross
that.
between the Mrs. Maisel and the Sex and the City.
Well, I will be watching.
Well, I want to make sure that I'm going to make sure you are watching, because I'm going to check and make sure.
All right. Thank you so much. And you look beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I thank you so much for taking the time to spend time with me.
Thank you. If you would like to win one of Nikki Haskell's Star Shooters, go to MrNashvilleTalks.com and join our email newsletter list, and 2 lucky winners will win. Once you've subscribed, you'll automatically be entered to win all of our future contests. For all our YouTube viewers, make sure to subscribe and click the bell for notifications of our future interviews.